Hello everyone and welcome to the Distinct Mastering YouTube channel. My name is Freddie. Today we're going to talk about some of my favorite compressors and why and how I actually use them a lot of the times. I was just working on a track and I thought it would be cool to kind of show some of the different compressors that I was trying out for different things and different flavors that I commonly do. So let's get right into it. Okay, I'm going to show you 6 compressors today that I commonly use, whether they be in my template or common compressors that I load up. These are not the only 6 that I use, and I've made some videos on these in the past, so I'm not going to do overviews of all of these compressors. I thought it'd be kind of cool to show you how and why I choose some of these compressors. Just to give you a little background in this video, I was just working on this track that I just started 2 days ago, and if you caught last week's video, I actually was working on the same track. And as I was working on some of the details and just trying to do some things with the bass, I was trying different compressors that I commonly use, and hence it prompted me to think about creating this video. So let's get into my session and check out 6 of my favorite compressors. Okay, if you caught my video from last week on how to get a balanced mix, then you're familiar with this track, but I'll go ahead and play a little bit of it for those of you that didn't see that video. All right, so it's still in the works, still haven't really fully mixed it yet, still adding some composition parts and different things, instruments, effects. But I was just flipping through a bunch of compressors, and in reality, I use a lot of the same ones. So the first one that I'm going to show you today is going to be the Ableton glue compressor. And if you take a look at my drum bus here, I typically do have this running on my drum bus. I usually have it off, and then at some point while working on the track, I do turn it on and will sometimes adjust some of these settings. It's not, you know, it's got a slow attack and a fast release. It's only a 2-to-1 ratio with it. It's actually parallel compression because I'm using this dry wet, and it's only at 21% right now on this track. So let me turn it off. I'm going to get into the meat of the track a little bit. And right there, that synth isn't supposed to come in like that. It actually has some glide. So let me go here and let me loop this section. Okay, so that's without. Let me turn this on. And let me go full wet. And I'm just going to solo this. So without, it's all of the percussion. And you can see that it's giving it a little groove. It's giving it a little bit of shape. Now I can control how quickly I want to soften the transients with this attack. You see that? The transients just got real soft. And they're sharper. So if you're trying to control those sharp transients in your mix in your drum bus, this is a way to do it. And then I can control how quickly the compressor lets go with the release. So check this out. Let me take the release all the way to the end. And you see as I move the release down, make it faster, it starts creating this pumping effect. Here's all the way up, longest release, and I'm going to slowly begin to go down. And then there's all the way where you barely hear it. Now, with it like back where it was, I'm going to bring the dry wet back down. You can hear it just working a little bit. Let me bring in this kick drum. And I'm going to turn it off. And on. It's got a nice vibe. It's giving it some groove. It's just bouncing along with the kick drum and the clap. So I love putting a little bit of glue on my drum bus. Okay, the next compressor I'm going to show you is going to be the API 2500, another great compressor for the drum bus. I love using this thing for acoustic instruments. It's great for vocals. It's really good at anything you throw at it if you really know how to use it. The cool thing about this is it's got a bunch of tone controls. You can switch between hard, medium, soft, loud, medium, norm. I'm not going to get into the specifics of how this thing works. Just going to get into how I like to use it and why it's one of my favorites. So we're going to try to mimic using this compressor on the drum bus and see what kind of flavor it gets us. Because remember, all of these compressors have their own style, especially these analog recreations. They have their own flavor. And when you really start to begin to learn the colors and get to know, it's almost like a painter painting a painting. So we've got pretty heavy threshold here. Let's go further. We'll take the, we'll match the 2-to-1. Now, if you want to use this release, you need to go all the way to the right, and then you get a little more finer control. That would be about somewhere near the ballpark of the glue. See, the soft is nice. Now, this was at about 30, 40%, 30%. You know, this has a mix knob too, so you could put it in parallel, which it was this whole time. Maybe, you know, I would probably recommend setting your compressor settings at 100% wet. Yeah, you've got some movement there. Let's bring this back down. That's nice. Let's compare. That's nice. It's got a nice groove to it. Let me go back to this one. This one's letting the shaker through a little bit more. They're both great. And so these are two of my favorites for the drum bus. Like I said, you could use these on almost anything you throw at them. They're great compressors. You know, for those that don't have the third-party plugs, the Ableton stuff is good too. Okay, so first compressor on my bass bus. I want to warn you, I'm not using all four of these, but this was the idea for the video. I was bypassing and trying different combos of these compressors on the bass bus, and I was like, I should make a video on my favorites and how and why I use them. So, okay, first one here, DBX 160. Love this thing. Have an old video. I'll leave you a link down below. Really warm. It's very simple to use. It's got great controls, and let me just go ahead and play the bass with it for you so you can hear. I'll show you what combo I'm leaning towards for this down the road in this video. Let me give you the kick drum, and let me give you the drum bus. So here's before and with. Now, look at that. So it's not hitting the threshold there. So the trick to this compressor for me is finding that spot where it just starts to sound like it has this groove that you don't get when it's not in the right spot. And it's somewhere where usually I see a little bit more of the above light on. You don't even need to have a lot of compression. You see, here's the input, here's the output, here's the gain change. it's just hitting that little transient. So here it is off. But if you listen carefully, it's also shaping the bass in a way that fits into my drum groove. I'm going to show you that again. Let me turn it off. And on. So that's a very common compressor that I use for bass. You could use this on all kinds of things. Once again, all of these compressors can be used on multiple sources. This is just one of the ways I like to personally use it. Another one that I like to use is this SSL G Bus. Now we've got the UAD. I bypassed it just for the sake of showing you the solid state logic one. This is another one of my favorites here. This thing is great. And I'm going to try to recreate the sound of the DBX 160 on this one. That's pretty close. This one's a little quicker on the attack. Let's loosen that up. It's close, but they're still slightly different. And the SSL has this warm tone to it that the DBX doesn't, but the DBX has its own tone to it. And I really like both of them. Another one here that I really like is the Teletronix LA-2A. I have videos on this, leave you a link down below. It's super simple leveling amplifier, one of the most common overused compressors. Well, I shouldn't say overused, just used because it's so good. And I like this to level things out. So I usually use this as a second compressor on my bass bus, but I use the LA-2A models on vocals, synths, keyboards, you name it. It's great for everything. So I'm just tapping it. See that if I go too much, it's losing its life. Remember, I muted both the SSL and the DBX. And here's before. Now, typically I'm using it in combination, so I'm going to turn on the DBX first and then this. There you go. Now let me turn this off. So I've got the groove, but now I need the fatness. And watch, when I turn this thing on, now let's try this in combination with the SSL. This is exactly what I was doing and how I had the idea for this video. So that's the SSL. Let's turn this on. Ooh, they both are good. So that one has some nice groove to it, but this one has more bottom. If you really listen, it's just got this punch to it. I like that. Yeah, that's a winning combination right now. But then I ended up also going with a Distressor here. So this is another one of my favorites. Now this one is another hardware recreation by UA, and I don't have a video on this. If you're curious to know how this compressor works and all the intricacies, drop me a comment down below and I will make you a video for this one. But ultimately, I'm going to show you in combination once again what I did with the DBX. Here's before. And then with. So it kind of took away some volume. Let's gain that up. And I actually have it a little. Now let's try this Distressor in combination with the SSL. Let's start with the SSL by itself. Okay, with the Distressor. I like that. The Distressor takes a little bit of the bottom away. With both combos with the Distressor, I'm losing a little bit of low end. With the Teletronix, I'm gaining, I feel like, a little bit. You hear the differences there? This one's a little more subdued, and it's controlling the transients a lot better. It's not as pronounced. So maybe I'll turn up the output. Let's compare. Yeah. So those are 6 of my favorite compressors, and as you can see, they all can do the same thing, but they still all have their own color, their own vibe, their own way they react, and compressors are fun to explore. So I suggest you go find some of your favorites, check out some of mine, how I use them. Like I said, these are not the only ways I use these compressors. This was just something I was doing right now, comparing and testing and getting things more dialed with this song, and I thought to make this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please shoot me a comment down below and let me know. Feedback always helps me understand if you are enjoying these videos. And if you did enjoy this video, please do hit the like button for that YouTube algorithm. The subscribe button will help you stay up to date with future videos, and then when you see the bell notification, that will notify you when I drop a new one. And until the next one, I will catch you. Peace.